is the United States of Africa, one country, one entity, either a federation under one strong government, either a unitary state like China. African infrastructure master plan, the railways, telecommunication, power. You can see the scale we're talking about here now. And as engineers, let us be this African who speaks on behalf of 1.3 billion people and a GDP of $2.3 trillion. They always tell you, well, we don't have critical mass, we can't beneficiate because we're too small. Can you imagine if we were to open our eyes and have a diamond cluster where Botswana, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Angola work as one unit? We put our diamond resources together. We'll be number one in the world in terms of diamonds. Can you imagine if we discuss with the world about diamonds together as one field and say we are the African diamond cluster? We have Botswana in here, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Angola. You can imagine the leverage we are going to have. We can beneficiate because now we have the scale that they say we don't have. Platinum. Between Zimbabwe and South Africa, we have 90%, if not 95% of world platinum. They tell us you can't build a plant to produce catalytic converters because we have no scale. When we put Zimbabwe and South Africa together, we can produce the catalytic converters in this region and sell to Japan, sell to America, sell to China, sell to India. Scale is coming from collaboration, and engineering is key in those clusters. Mining engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical, in the diamond cluster, in the platinum cluster. Oil cluster, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, and Niger, whichever countries out there, they have a cluster on oil. They'll compete with the Middle East. They'll compete with everyone else, and they can then beneficiate and produce diesel and petrol, as opposed to Nigeria buying petrol, Nigeria buying diesel. Shame on you, foolish African. How dare you? 70 years of independence, and you are buying petrol. Why is integration not working? Sovereignty is the big issue. People emphasize national sovereignty. My country, my Nigeria, my Malawi, my little Zimbabwe. We must think about the continent. You know, just to challenge you, you must say, I'm an African first. A citizen of SADC second, a South African third. I'm an African first. A citizen of ECOWAS second, a Ghanaian third. But you can't because you're so stuck to your national flag, national anthem, national basketball team, national soccer team, national. We are nationally wired as citizens and as leaders. So it's a constraint. You can't fully embrace integration unless you say the nation state is so yesterday. Regional integration is the way to go. The nation state is so yesterday. Continental integration is the way to go. So the major, they will talk it. They will talk, then they go back to the nation state. How many times have you heard them in parliament say, our SADC budget, our contribution to the AU, the Agenda 2063, they don't believe in regional integration. Krumah, what did Krumah say? Let's go back to Krumah. And I'll quote Krumah. We as Ghanaians are prepared to surrender our sovereignty in part or in total in pursuit of African unity. Close quote. In 1960, when they wrote their constitution. We are prepared to surrender our sovereignty in part or in total in pursuit of African unity. How many Africans can speak like that right now? We as South Africans are prepared to surrender our prosperity in part or in total in pursuit of African prosperity. Are you ready? Or you are chasing the other Africans out of South Africa? The visionaries of the 60s were thinking Africa. What else did Krumah say? The independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked to the independence of the rest of the African continent. Close quote. We must die a little so that South Africans can be free. We must die a little so that Rhodesia can be free. This man, Ben Bella from Algeria, was talking about dying for South Africa to be free, dying for Rhodesia to be free. We don't have men and women of that caliber anymore. We have midgets masquerading as leaders, intellectual midgets. It's very difficult to integrate unless the psychology of our leaders is the psychology of Pan-Africanism, of regional integration, and make sure that on balance, when we work together as Africans, the quality of life is going to improve. But there might be no president. It's okay. There might be no vice president. It's okay. The African will have a quality of life comparable to Japan, to the Americans, to Europe, and so on. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's a cost, there's a price to pay for regional integration. We must be prepared. Remember, die a little. That's a sacrifice. He's saying he's prepared to die. Ben Bella was saying, let's die a little. Nkrumah was saying, we are prepared to give up our sovereignty. He was saying his independence is meaningless. That's the language which is missing now, and that's why integration is tough. Source of funds, he or she who pays the paper calls the tune. You can't have the fourth industrial revolution or industrialization funded by the EU or funded by the British or the Americans. That's why I'm emphasizing pulling our resources together so we fund our own projects. We fund our own infrastructure plans. We fund our own industrialization. The African can only industrialize against the interests of the West. Black man, black woman, you are on your own. Biko was right. So yes to donations, yes to aid, but it's unsustainable. We must fund our own activities using our gold, our platinum, our diamonds, but more importantly, when we pull them together, they'll be much more powerful and we can negotiate better. Another point raised by Professor Mbo. You go and negotiate as Kenya, as Zimbabwe, as Malawi. You get shortchanged. When you negotiate as COMESA, negotiate as the FTA area, negotiate as the African continent, you extract better deals from China, from India, from America. And then you can raise the resources to pay for your development. The aid and donations are not such.
Yeah, I echo Professor Mutambara sentiment. The need to have a united Africa, a one Africa with a central government. But the problem, the way you have talked about, is our leader. Are they ready? Are they really willing to do that? Are they really willing to be to be governors or to be ministers, not president? That's where the problem is. Our leaders are so selfish. They don't want this thing to happen because they feel like their power will be removed. They will not be that a superpower anymore, as a powerful leader the way they are now as president. They feel like having one president in this whole continent, it's like sidelining them. And this is not good. That's a selfish move, a selfish idea. Yeah, as you can see, the US, the state of US, give their they give their self to the central government, the federal government, to be governed, and that's why they become to be a United States of America. But for us, leader, they just sweet talk. They are good in talking, but doing something about it, that's where they draw the line, because they feel their power being threatened. But let's champion this. Let's continue pushing this. What do you see? What is your opinion about all that Professor Mutambara has talked about? Do you see any Any change soon? Do you see like now the continent is going somewhere, or we still just that far to reach that goal of having a united Africa? What is your opinion about this? Don't forget to subscribe and like. Give a comment about your opinion. See you then.